Well, hello and welcome to the Dixie Belle Paint page. How are you today? My name is Melissa. I am the owner and artist here at the Top Drawer RVA, located in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm also a Dixie Belle brand ambassador. So welcome. It's Wednesday, it's 3 p.m., and that is the time where we get together and sit on the floor and play with some paint. And I have a kind of fun thing to play with today. It was a very popular look that I did beginning of June before the Dixie Belle Terra paint was released. And now that it's been released, I thought, well, wouldn't this be a good idea to recreate it and teach everybody exactly how to do this look? So my door's open, there's puppies in the room, my daughter's sitting at the computer, she's being a moderator. If you have any questions, she can read them out loud to me and I can answer them as I go along. But today's project is going to be all about Terra. Have you heard the news that Terra Clay paint is now available on the Dixie Belle website? Your local retailer should have it, and now you can find it online as well. There's 18 bold, beautiful artisan colors, and we are going to paint some watercolor roses on this big dresser today, and they're going to be fabulous. Now, here's the deal about these flowers. When people see the work that I've done previously with these flowers, the look that I'm going to teach you step by step, okay, what's going to happen is they see those flowers and they think, wow, she's a good artist. They don't realize that majority of the flowers, majority of the work that we do with these flowers is actually finger painting. Here's some Luna for all my puppy lovers out there. I know everybody likes to see my puppy dogs. They're in here today, so they're probably going to wander in the shot. As long as they don't step on my mic and pull it out, I don't mind if they hang out with us. So let's dive in, shall we? So this piece has been painted in a base coat of caviar. Now, why did I do a base coat of caviar on this piece? I did a base coat of caviar because I actually had to paint this piece in slick stick to begin with, okay? It's a shiny kind of a laminate plastic sized wood, right? Like it's a, are we gonna heavy breathe right in the microphone, Luna? Like if you're gonna heavy breathe, I'm gonna send you off because nobody wants to listen to that grossness, right? Be a good girl. Shh, be quiet, be quiet. All right, so why did I do caviar? Caviar was applied to this piece because it was covered in slick stick. And slick stick is a white primer. It's my gripping primer for slick and shiny surfaces because this piece is a new style dresser, right? It had that kind of shiny laminate wood, and you all know I'm in my dining room where we hang out and play with paint all the time. So I did not want to sand and make a big giant mess, or messier than it already is. So I applied slick stick. Then I applied one even coat of caviar just to be a nice dark base, okay? Because we're gonna use a lot of water on this piece. I'm gonna move my paint around. I'm gonna be mashing it with my brushes. And if you start to do that, it's gonna pull back the paint and show the white underneath, and I didn't want that. So we did a really nice solid base of caviar before we began. All right, then I came in and did kind of like a crosshatch effect with a natural bristle brush. I actually used a chip brush to do that. I don't have any on the floor, I don't think. And I did onyx and wisteria mist. Now onyx is the black in the the new Terra paint line, okay? So it's a black paint. Now this is like a textured paint, right? This is a thicker artisan paint. So between the black onyx and the wisteria mist, which is almost like a morning sunrise from the silk line color-wise, I created then a second base because this is what I ended up with. My third and final, I know that seems like a lot of coats, but I wanted depth, people. I wanted texture and depth. The third and final coat, I added in some of this beautiful blue, which is called Galaxy. It's really deep and gorgeous. I also added in a touch of that elderberry, and then I sprayed the heck out of it. Can you see my beautiful drippy watercolor background? This is my base for the flowers that we're going to paint today, okay? I wanted this look. I'm going to see if I can push you back so you can catch the whole thing. See that whole piece right there? This is my watercolor design, my watercolor look as a base for my drippy flowers. All right, so let's begin, shall we? What do you need to paint some drippy flowers onto a beautiful Terra piece? Well, you need your 10 little digits, right? You need your fingers. You need a couple brushes on the floor, and I have like a little menagerie of brushes. I grabbed some natural bristle brushes. I grabbed my artisan brushes. I also grabbed a paper plate here on the floor so that when I'm mixing my colors, I can mix them and mash them around to get the exact color that I want. Now, if you're planning out your piece, and you're looking at the front of this nice big flat piece like a canvas, you want to start looking at it like, well, where would your eye naturally flow? If you've taken any art classes or any art history at all, you would know that your eye comes in on the left, does like a little circle, and flows out the top right. So that tells me I like to start my flowers down here, all right? If you need to get a piece of chalk and draw out a line just to follow, you can totally do that. A piece of chalk will disappear when you paint over top of it, and it will be a nice guide. For me, I like to just jump right in and get a little crazy, okay? So let's begin with the flowers. The flowers are gonna start here, and they're gonna kind of come up. I might do them bigger, smaller, and bigger. But for right now, let's focus on this section right here. The first thing I do when I do my watercolor flowers, my watercolor roses, is add a bit of green to the background, okay? This is my watercolor swamp that's here right now. These flowers are kind of gonna live on the front of it. So I'm going to jump right in the malachite, which is this really deep, beautiful green. I like to use a natural bristle brush if I'm going to be mashing my paint, because the Terra is a textured paint. This is already textured and gorgeous. The surface has drips, it has cross hatches underneath it. It's got all the good stuff. So I'm going to take some green, knowing I'm going to start my flowers right here, okay? This is where, remember my camera's flipped on Facebook, it reverses my image. So technically where I'm sitting, this is my bottom left, this is my top right. I'm going to take some malachite, which is just the green, and I'm going to just mash some green on here. Does that look like anything other than crazy? No. I want you to be free flowing. When it comes to what we're going to do today, I need you to lose a little control, all right? Lose a little bit of control, and the best things will happen. I'm also using the paint that's just from my lid. You would be super surprised with Terra Clay paint how far it can go just from using the paint on your lid. It's craziness. So again, remembering my flowers are going to be here, right? And then flowing upwards, I'm going to take a little bit of this green and just drop it right up here. So that is malachite. Is it anything crazy right now? No. Does it look like leaves? No. But this is a base, okay? Now I'm going to jump into this gorgeous pistachio. That's that bright green. Isn't that crazy beautiful? This is one of my most favorite Terra colors. I'm going to continue this process of kind of applying some green just as a base for my flowers. Once again, not even being even Steven with it, I'm just dropping on some green. This is all going to be sprayed, painted over, and mashed around, okay? This is just my backdrop. Get messy, flow with it, have some fun, and know that this does not matter, okay? Do you know what I mean? This doesn't matter yet. This is just get some texture, get some background on the piece. Once again, if you have any questions, please just drop them in the comments below. I have a moderator and they can answer them for me and ask me. My daughter can ask me, she's watching, and she can let me know if there is any questions from anybody. So malachite and a little bit of this gorgeous pistachio, just as a, throw some color on there as a backdrop. Let's begin with our flowers. All right, I'm gonna pull you in closer. I'm gonna aim you down a little bit. Hopefully you don't fall off. Let's start here. As for any roses, I like to do the darks first, okay? And when I say darks, I'm talking about my elderberry, my, let's see, these are still in the sample cans. Okay, here we go. Bougainvillea. Bougainvillea? Did I say it? We never know. I see some people watching. Hey Judy, how are you? Okay, so I'm gonna start with my darks. I'm also gonna open up some other colors in the floor. I have the marigold, which is a really pretty, really nice orange, but we're gonna jump right in. So I'm gonna start with just a regular artist brush because all I'm doing right now is building. I'm building a base. I'm gonna jump right into the elderberry and we're gonna go. All right? So I wanna look at this like big, 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 smaller, and then continue the process up the piece. So that means I'm gonna go right over top of where the drawers go, and we're just gonna start to dump some color on here. You can do this any way you want. There's no rules in painting, and I don't want you to follow my directions to a T. I want you to make this stuff up as you go along, because if you don't make it your own, then how's it gonna be yours? Right? You don't want it to look just like mine. You want to get in here and actually figure it out and make it work for you. So this purple is just my base, okay? that beautiful elderberry. I'm gonna bring you actually back up because I wanna work on the top as well. I don't wanna leave the top naked when I start because this is gonna be my layout. This is my base for these beautiful flowers. I know I wanna do one here. These are gonna give you a drippy watercolor effect rose when we're done. Trust me. Trust me. It always looks like a hot mess at one point, right? How are we doing today? We're pretty quiet. See a bunch of people watching. Anybody have any questions at all? Anything popping up, honey?
No, but I'll ask for some people.
Sure.
How long does it take for that paint to dry? Like if you were working on something, you decided to stop for a little bit and you didn't want it to dry, would it dry fast or slowly?
Okay, so my daughter in the background is asking a question about this actual paint drying process. I don't know if you've used clay paint or not before, but like I said, this is a thicker texture paint, right? This is like a thick, literally like a pudding. So what's gonna happen is when you're painting with this paint, if you go globbing it on like I am, building this texture in layers, you're gonna have some definite longer dry times, okay? I recommend doing your first coat the day before you're coming in to add all this texture. I started this piece on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. And normally I work a lot quicker than that. But to me, I want to build these layers and I want it to be thick and chunky and beautiful. So think about it like the thicker your paint is, the thicker your layers are, the longer it's going to take to dry. And when you're using the wax to seal, because I will be using the Terra Wax, which is not released yet, it's coming very soon, what's going to happen is you need to wait for your paint to dry completely. You cannot get in here and start applying wax for literally days. Okay, the thicker your paint, the longer it's going to take. It does dry quickly if it's thinner, but I'm also going to be using a lot of water with this paint. We haven't gotten to the water part yet, but just wait, we'll get there. So right now, I've got the beautiful elderberry, and I've got this gorgeous bougainvillea. Do you think it's bougainvillea or bougainvillea?
Bougainvillea.
You say bougainvillea? I don't think it's boo, I think it's bow. But we will figure it out eventually, one day. They couldn't make it easy on me with these Terra Clay paint colors. They had to make them a little bit hard. Okay, now we're gonna stop for a minute. Now we have our flowers in a layout. Now I'm gonna sit back a bit and look at it and go, do I want to add any more? What is this layout looking like? It's looking a little neat to me. It's looking a little bit too balanced, if you ask me. I'm gonna come back in and add another one down here because I don't want it to be too perfect, right? Art is not perfect on purpose. I'm even gonna put a little one over here, I think. Now I'm gonna stop. Now this is where it gets fun. Get your spray misting bottle filled with water. Get your napkins, because y'all, we're gonna make a mess. This is where the fun starts to happen. We're gonna take our paper towels, or your napkin, or your whatever you like. You got your water and a spray misting bottle. I like these because when you spray them, they are a thin mist. You're not drowning your piece, you're just spraying your piece, right? And I'm gonna start up here. And I'm gonna start to spray and touch. And let's move some of this color a little bit. Let's create these watercolor roses to get a little bit of a softer edge. The way that you get them softer is by touching them. Touch those edges. Blend them out. Soften the edges. Do I want it to drip down? Heck yes. Do I want the texture to run and make these roses look like I painted them in watercolor? For sure. I am blurring. I'm blurring my edges. Can you see how that's happening right here? Do you need to come in a little bit closer? Okay, here we go. Spray. Blur. Blur those edges. This is the beginning of the magic. I want this green to move and drip. I want these flowers to have a softer edge. You could take your napkin if you really needed to. You could spray your napkin and you could actually blot it. You can move it around with fabric. You can move it around with a spatula. The possibilities of this paint are completely open to whatever you want to create. This is the paint, remember, with no rules. I always say, you guys, there's no rules in painting. You paint what makes your heart happy, right? because that is the only way that you're going to paint things that you love. So now we have these beautiful drippy bases of my flowers. The combination of the elderberry, which is the purple, the bougainvillea, which is pink, the blurring of the edges. I'm going to start using my fingers a little bit more here, okay? How's it going?
Good.
I'm going to dip into this beautiful orange. This is the marigold, okay? Now I don't want too much, but I definitely want some on there. I want to start taking a little bit more of one more color in here. I don't want every single rose to be exactly the same, so you're not going to see me touch every single flower, but you are going to see me mix a little bit more color, something else into some of the edges, okay? Quiet crew today, huh, Alyssa? Nobody's asking any questions. You can spray. Maybe they're not talking because they're learning. I get more quiet when I'm watching something that I want to learn. Maybe drop them in, y'all. If you have any questions, drop them in. I'm happy to help. Again, with the finger painting, go off the lid if you want. Let's add a little bit of that marigold, just a touch, onto some of these flowers. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to start to mix some stuff up. I'm going to take my artist brush and I'm going to scoop out some of the moonbeam, which is white, okay? It's a white Terra Clay paint. And we're going to take that and I'm going to use it and also mix it in with a little bit of the pink. Okay, I'm going to take, I should use a separate brush for each color when I'm dipping into the jars, but we all know how I paint. I paint how I want to paint. I don't like to worry about switching brushes. I make a mess. So I've got two colors here, okay? What we're going to do is start to mix some colors. All right, these paints blend super duper well. Now, when you look at these flowers, I want you to look at them like the darker part of the flower, okay? This beautiful darker edge, right? This blurry edge. I want to stay a little bit more true. When I'm painting in the petals now, because that's the direction we're going to move into is the petals, I want you to look at the petals as coming in on the exterior of the flower, okay? I've mixed a little bit of these two colors together. I'm just going to start to create some petals. Here's the deal. You can do this and dry it. You could wait for these other colors to get dry before you jumped in if you felt like you needed to. But I am here to teach you, so I'm going to do it all lickety-split quick, and we're going to get these second set of petals on here. So I want you to think of the second set in a lighter value. We moved from the darkest into the lightest. The knobs for this piece are actually going to be crystal, and they will kind of hopefully disappear when they're on here. You won't see them as much. Are you understanding the concept? Throw me some hearts, show me some love. I want to know that you're understanding the concept of a light source, right? And the darker value staying behind this tone, right? So we've done the dark and we're moving into the lighter part of the flower. Make sense? Too hard? I think you can grasp this. I think this is easy, and I think it should be a lot of fun, and I think it should be a little bit messy. So I've taken these petals and I've just now started depositing some of this color on the outside of the roses.
Con says that's a fantastic finish at the beginning. She said.
Thank you. So again, just getting in here and dropping in that color. So now I'm going to move into, I should have put a little thing of water on the floor, just some more white. All right, I'm going to stick a little bit more of this moonbeam on my plate. You can see that I'm not being neat and tidy. I am being messy. Messy works best. Let's spray a little bit and move some of these tones so that some of the red comes down and gives me some gorgeous drips. This is where you're going to get that watercolor look. is by spraying as you're moving and getting that paint to drip down. I want this to look like a watercolor piece, and the only way you're gonna get that is by being free-handed and not definite and letting these colors drip. Take your fingers, pull the paint where you want it to go in the direction. You don't want it to be too neat, right? You want stuff to be a little bit more free when you're moving with it. So this is just Moonbeam, which is the white color. Now, again, if you're working and you wanted to stop and let this part get dry before you move along to the second bit, because this is wet, right? And if you're working on wet, your paint is going to mix, the colors are going to mix. But if you're coming in on a dry surface with a white, it's going to stay white. It's going to stay a little bit more pure. So what's going to happen is I'm going to keep pushing along, and I'll probably, after we're done with this video today, wait and come back in and actually add more white to the petals to keep it true and white in value. All right, so now you're just going to keep repeating this process. Take your petals and keep adding, because the flowers grow in a round, right? They grow in a round. They don't just sit perfect. They have like different little round shapes. And if you feel like it's getting too drippy, where's your paper towel? You grab your paper towel and you blot it off. A little bit of paint got down here, who cares? Let's just spray it and make it disappear. Nobody will see that my paint dripped down in the wrong spot. So I'm going to keep wiping off my brush and going into the white, which is the Moonbeam, and creating petals.
And both the artist brushes and the spray bottle you're using are on the Dixie Belle website?
Yep, all the products you're seeing today can be found on the Dixie Belle Paint page, including Terra. Terra is now available on the Dixie Belle Paint page for everybody to find and play with and enjoy, because this paint is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I am painting over top of these drawers closed. When they are open, you actually only see the darker value color, but I'm using this flat canvas as a piece of art. I kind of get excited when my furniture is flat like this, because it gives me the opportunity to create something a little bit more artistic than I normally would paint. A flat surface to me means paint something, paint something really cool. So I'm just adding the white, bringing those petals in around the flowers. Ooh, that little guy down there is kind of my jam. She's my favorite for some reason so far. You know why? I think because she doesn't have a lot of the real true pink showing up, but we're gonna keep going with these layers. So you can take the middle and start to do like little curls, like an actual flower would have, but you're just building on these layers. I'm creating texture with my brush as I go along. And when this dries, it will be more of a raised surface. Okay, it's not going to be flat. This is not flat painting. This is a texture surface.
I think Terra is probably best if you're going for a texture thing.
Definitely. My daughter says Terra is the best when you're going for texture, and I completely 100% agree. Dixie Belle has different lines for everything that your needs might be. We have the silk line for that gorgeous one color paint with that built-in top coat and the built-in primer. We have chalk mineral paint available for your gorgeous blending needs, keeping your strokes nice and smooth, creating that flawless finish. And now we have Terra, which is going to allow you to paint whatever your little heart, whatever your little artisan heart desires. By building these layers and building the petals and just creating a vision. Let me sit back a little bit and have a look-see. I like it, but I need to spray it. So I'm gonna start spraying a little bit because I want some of this paint to run down. I don't want it to be too even, Steven, and perfect, if that makes sense. I want drips, I want runs, and I want this to be interesting. I want people to look at this and go, wow, that looks like a piece of art, not a piece of furniture. It's functional art. So by touching, you're allowed to just kind of get in here and move that paint. You're redirecting your paint to where you want it to go. I'm blurring those edges. And you can reactivate this paint. See this green up here, this malachite was more dry and I want it to move a little bit. So I'm gonna pull it with my fingers and reactivate it and move it around. Perfection. That, my friends, is making me happy. Now I'm gonna go back into the white because I wanna add a little bit more of some true white. Let's put some more on my little plate down here. So I've got the moonbeam right here, and we're just gonna take that and we're gonna spread it around. We're gonna keep moving those petals, right? We're gonna keep building those petals. Creating really pretty roses. Don't be afraid to put your fingers in here. If you'd rather paint on all of the petals with your fingers, you totally can. They're looking good. Looking pretty. And if it gets too drippy for your liking, spray it again. Like spray the drips away. It's almost like you can wash away those drips and get them exactly the way that you want them to go. I love to touch them though and move them. And by touching them and moving them, you can really redirect where you want that water to go. I feel like I need more white up on this one up here. Some of these flowers need to be a little bit bigger. I can't have them all the same size. That would be weird. Now, you can also take another brush and you can add extra green with your malachite or your, sorry, I get distracted and can't talk when I'm painting sometimes.
Pistachio?
Pistachio, malachite or pistachio. So by just moving your brush along these lines, I'm creating some kind of really pretty texture. Again, you can take it from the lid if you want to mix the two colors together. You can actually paint a leaf if you want to, make it look actually like a plant leaf. It's up to you. Sky is the limit. Don't be afraid to mix in other colors too, like a little bit of the black with the onyx. This is art, people. You're making art happen. You could also take your paintbrush, wet it, and flick it. I'm a big fan of the flick method when it comes to painting. I feel like it really helps kind of make a piece look a little bit more organic, a little bit more earthy rather than too definite. I don't like things to look too perfect. It's just the way. See that? See how you're just kind of now growing this little bouquet of flowers? And adding that little bit of green on either side is just a good way to kind of balance it out. You don't want one side to have all of the things. You kind of need to spread it out a little bit. What do we think? Good? Do you think you can do this? Can you grasp the fact of how to paint these beautiful watercolor roses? I think that if you can let it go, like if you can let loose, and just let the paint have fun, like just have fun with what you're doing versus being too rigid, it's definitely going to make the difference in the way that your painting turns out. But once this dries, the paint value itself will lighten a touch. Clay mineral paint has a way that when it actually dries, it lightens a lot. So you can see how it's lighter over here where I already painted this background. When I reactivate it with the wax, what's going to happen is it's going to bring some of that pigment back and allow some of that color to just shine through. Using the Terra Wax or the Terra Seal is what's going to bring these colors back to life. It's going to allow them to really shine. Because when it's on its own, remembering that this can be reactivated with water and that you can also move it around with water, you really want to seal your work. But again, you have to wait for it to get really dry before you're going to start sealing it and getting that to happen. I'm just going to take a little bit of that beautiful elderberry and kind of spread it around too. I want some of these to have like a little bit of a darker green edge. I hear my dog sighing in the background. She's not impressed. she's deep sighing in the background. She's like, okay. What do we think? Super pretty, right? Super pretty. Do you think you're gonna be able to try this? Okay, I'm focusing on you. Does anybody have any questions about how to use Terra paint or how to achieve this beautiful watercolored look? Now is the time to ask. You have my undivided eyeballs on you, and I can answer that. I think that this paint is freeing, it's simple, and it creates a look that seems like it took a lot more time to do it, right? I might actually come in here and add like another tiny rose just for balance. Sometimes I need to sit back and look at the piece and then really analyze what I want to do and how I want it to move. Some of these flowers are a little bit darker than the others, which I love. I feel like I need to make that one actually a bit more whiter on the edge. I'll probably get out my heat gun and blast it with some heat so it starts to dry, because there is a lot of thick layers on here and I want to build up those beautiful petals. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. What do you think, Alyssa? Did you have fun today?
Yes.
Yes, you did. All right, folks, if you have any questions or I missed any questions and you are watching on the replay, drop them in below. I do come back in and check my comments afterwards to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But I'm always happy to chat if you wanted to send me a message. I am Melissa from the Top Drawer RVA, your local Dixie Belle brand ambassador, and I am happy to help you along your painting journey. But I think that Terra paint is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. Give it a try, get messy, paint with your fingers, and have some fun. So that is it for me, folks. I hope that you go and paint your own roses, and if you do, show me. I'd love to share it on my own social medias. That's it. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.